Penguin Random House Audio presents The Nature of Animal Healing, the definitive holistic medicine guide to caring for your dog and cat, by Martin Goldstein, DVM. Read for you by Christopher Grove. Introduction. Saving the Kingdom. If animals could talk, here's what they'd say. For starters, about that food. Why, they'd ask, do you give me the same boring pet chow day after day? You don't have that kind of diet. You have different foods for every meal, and the foods you eat are real. Why wouldn't we want real food too? Don't we have the same bodily needs? As it is, the dry kibble is boring, the canned food is gross, and neither kind seems to impart much nutrition. How, they'd ask, can a pet expect to feel peppy, never mind healthy, on that? Perhaps they'd add, having thought long and hard on the subject, there's some connection between poor food and poor health. Certainly you take us to the veterinarian more than ever before. Yet why, they'd ask, do visits to the clinic often leave us feeling worse in the long run? We come in with a skin inflammation, we're given a steroid, for a while we feel better, but then the effect fades. We go back with a fever, get an antibiotic, the fever goes down, but something else comes up. We get vaccines, 5, 6, 7 ingredients at a time, meant to protect us against disease, yet days or even months later we feel sluggish and sick. Just as we're finally shaking off the ill effects, back we go to the veterinarian for more. And if all that conventional medicine is supposed to keep us well, they'd ask, why are so many animals getting seriously sick? Why, in particular, is there so much cancer? Why are so many dying before their time? Pets don't talk to me either, but they don't need to. I see the results of bad diet and misguided conventional medicine every day. Admittedly, my clinic is somewhat different from the standard veterinary hospital. Like the doctors on ER, we take more than our share of desperate cases. Basket cases, as some of my colleagues in the field put it. Though I certainly see healthy pets. Many of the animals I treat have been given less than a month to live. They have some form of severe premature degeneration, arthritis, kidney or liver failure, hyperthyroidism, or, most frequently, some form of cancer. If I were just seeing a small, steady trickle of extreme cases year in, year out, you could stop reading right now. What, you could say, are the chances of your pet becoming one of those statistics? And if he did, that would just be fate, right? Bad luck out of the blue? Unfortunately, it's not that simple. 25 years ago, when I started out in practice, the pets I saw with these diseases were old. Their conditions seemed to be age-related and slow-growing enough to be accepted. Of the cases I see now, many are young and don't live past the age of 5. It's no longer unusual to see a 3-year-old cat with kidney failure, or an 18-month-old dog with part of its jaw eaten away by cancer. If the age of these patients is troubling, so too is the rate at which their diseases now grow. Not that long ago, in April 1997, I treated a 7-year-old Rottweiler named Wrinkles, who had a huge mushroom-shaped tumor next to her rectum. The tumor, a spindle cell sarcoma, had already grown back after being removed by a board-certified surgeon. I dug in with my hands and instruments 4 inches to grasp the extent of it and cut it out. Then I froze the remaining diseased cells with liquid nitrogen, destroying nearly 100% of her clinical cancer. 2 weeks later, Wrinkle's owner called to report that the tumor had begun growing back and was already the size of a walnut. That was on a Thursday. I asked the owner to bring her in on Monday to prepare her for another surgery. By then, the tumor was the size of a grapefruit. It was a case that even I, who rarely gives up on any pet, conceded was hopeless. I put her to sleep. Fortunately, we're able to save many of the pets we treat, to restore them to health, or at least to give them an extended period of happy life which they weren't expected to have. But the challenge grows as the conditions we see get more aggressive, more unpredictable, and more bizarre. The fact that we're now treating up to 35 new cases of cancer a week, far more than just a few years ago, is in a sense misrepresentative. Cancer-stricken pets from all over the country are flown or driven into us now, through clinic referrals or, increasingly, the Internet. But ask your local veterinarian if he's seen more cancer in recent years. Of course he has. A 1998 survey of disease-related deaths among pets by the non-profit Morris Animal Foundation bears this out. Of 720 canine deaths reported, 479 were cancer-caused. The next highest category was heart-related problems, 12%, followed by kidney, 7%, and epilepsy, 4%. Among 468 feline deaths, cancer also ranked highest, 32%, followed by kidney and urinary disease, 23%, and heart problems, 9%. This raises the obvious questions. Why? And can anything be done about it? As a holistic veterinarian, I don't view cancer as a mysterious disease that attacks the body. It's the ultimate manifestation of ill health. It's what happens when the body's immune system, under siege for too long, at last surrenders, letting cell growth go awry. To me, it's clear that more and more pets are getting cancer and other degenerative diseases because they're being hit with more and more toxins that eventually mutate their genes, weakening successive generations. The assault begins with those processed and packaged foods that most of us give our pets. Mediocre at best, they often contain toxins in their chemical additives and preservatives, or in reprocessed meat unfit for human consumption. Other toxins are absorbed from tap water or ground chemicals. A great number of cancer-producing toxins in pets come, I believe, from certain conventional drugs meant to improve their health. All this is accelerated, of course, by animals' relatively short lifespans. Just in the time most of us have been alive, many generations of pets have come and gone. With each generation, the incidence of genetic diseases, including cancer, has increased. Cancer is the far marker, the defining outer limit of how toxic our world has become, and of what those toxins can do to animals. But almost every lesser manifestation of ill health is also aggravated by toxins that inhibit the immune system and keep an animal from healing itself. And all too often, when an animal desperately needs its toxins reduced, conventional medicine responds by adding more. Some years ago, a white terrier named Blake was brought into our clinic. At 28 months of age, he had skin that was darkened, flaky, smelly, highly inflamed, and so itchy that he'd scratched off half his fur. He was truly suffering. We see a lot of patients with skin problems, by the way, and we see more of them now, in worse shape than we did a decade ago. A conventional veterinarian had initially concluded, correctly, that Blake had severe allergies to such items as grasses, wool, fleas, and molds. Also, he had a secondary bacterial infection of the skin. The veterinarian had deduced that the rugs in the house contained the most immediate allergens tormenting Blake, and so the rugs had been removed. At the same time, Blake had been put on a series of different hypoallergenic diets. He'd also been subjected to a battery of desensitization injections after undergoing allergy testing, treatments with cortisone, antibiotics, and medicated shampoos, and finally, even chemotherapy. When nothing worked, the veterinarian recommended having Blake put to sleep,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?